The sound of the siren did not wail. It screamed. It tore through the manicured silence of Baldwin Hills like a jagged knife ripping through expensive silk. Red and blue lights sliced through the darkness and bounced off the white pillars of the colonial mansion. They flashed against the faces of the neighbors who had already gathered on the sidewalk. These were people who usually pretended not to see anything, but tonight they watched. They watched as the paramedics rushed the stretcher through the double oak doors. Nia stood in the center of her living room. Her feet were bare and buried deep in the plush cream carpet. She was wearing the silk robe Derrick had bought her for their 15th anniversary. It was supposed to be a quiet Tuesday night, a night for red wine and jazz records and talking about his upcoming merger. Instead, there was chaos. There were strangers in heavy boots tracking mud into her sanctuary. One of the medics was straddling Derrick on the floor. He was pumping Derrick's chest with a rhythm that looked violent and desperate. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nia watched the movement of the medic's arms. She could not look at Derrick's face. She could not look at the way his eyes were open but seeing nothing. She could not look at the way his expensive linen shirt had been ripped open. Buttons were scattered across the floor like spilled pearls. "We are losing him!" The medic shouted. "Charge to 200! Clear!" Nia did not move. She felt like she was watching a movie about someone else's life. This did not happen to people like them. This did not happen to the Williams family. They were the golden couple of Los Angeles. They were the ones on the cover of Black Enterprise. They were the ones who hosted the fundraisers for the mayor. Derrick was 45 years old. He played tennis on Saturdays. He drank green juice. He was invincible. Time of death. 9:17 in the evening. The words hung in the air. They were heavier than the silence that followed. The medic stopped pumping. He wiped sweat from his forehead and looked up at Nia with pity in his eyes. That was the first time she felt the anger. She did not want his pity. She wanted him to fix it. She wanted him to make Derrick stand up and laugh his deep baritone laugh and tell her it was just a bad dream. But Derrick did not move. The man who had been the center of her universe for 16 years was gone. Just like that. Massive heart failure. That is what they called it. His heart had simply stopped beating. It was a traitorous muscle that had given up without a warning. 2 days later, the house was full of people, but it felt emptier than ever. It was the day of the repast. The funeral service had been grand and performative. The church was packed with over 500 people. There were city council members and business partners and people who claimed to be best friends with Derrick, but whom Nia had never met. They spoke about his legacy. They spoke about his brilliance. They spoke about his smile that could light up a boardroom. Now they were all in her house. They were eating potato salad and fried chicken and collard greens on her fine china. The air smelled of heavy perfume and grief and fried grease. Nia sat in the high-backed velvet chair in the corner of the formal living room. She was wearing a black dress that cost more than her first car. It was structured and severe and armor-like. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun. Her face was dry. She had not shed a tear in public, not once. She knew what they were whispering. She could hear them. The ants in their wide-brimmed hats were huddled by the buffet table. "She looks cold," one of them whispered. "She is not even crying." Another replied, "You know she always was distant. Derrick was the warm one. Derrick was the heart of this house." Nia took a sip of water. The water was warm and tasted like metal. They did not know. They did not know that she had not slept in 48 hours. They did not know that she had vomited 3 times this morning before putting on her makeup. They did not know that being strong was the only way she knew how to survive. 16 years ago, Nia had been a shark. She was a top financial analyst with a law degree. She was on partner track at one of the biggest firms in Chicago. Then she met Derrick. He was charming and ambitious, and he had a dream. He wanted to build a real estate empire. He wanted to create generational wealth. He needed a partner. He needed a wife who could manage the books and charm the investors and run the household with military precision. So Nia stepped back. She dimmed her own light so his could shine brighter. She became Mrs. Derrick Williams. She managed the accounts. She decorated the houses. She planned the galas. She made him look good. She built the stage that he danced on. And now the dancer was dead, and the audience was blaming the stage manager. A shadow fell over her. Nia looked up. It was Mother Jenkins, Derrick's mother. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a tongue that could cut glass. She was clutching a handkerchief that was dry. "You need to eat something, Nia," Mother Jenkins said. Her voice was not kind. It was an accusation. "I am not hungry, Mother Jenkins," Nia said softly. "You need to keep your strength up." Mother Jenkins sniffed. "Although I do not know what you are so tired from, it is not like you had to nurse him. He was fine one minute and gone the next. Maybe if you had noticed he was stressed, maybe if you had made sure he was resting instead of worrying about your dinner parties." The accusation hit Nia in the chest. It was subtle, but it was there. "You killed him. You did not take care of him. You failed as a wife." "Derrick was a grown man," Nia said. Her voice was steady. "He made his own choices." Mother Jenkins narrowed her eyes. "A wife is supposed to cover her husband. A wife is supposed to know when his heart is heavy. But you were always so focused on the image, Nia. Just like this house. Cold and perfect and empty." Before Nia could respond, the front door swung open. A hush fell over the room. The heavy oak door slammed against the wall with a thud that echoed through the foyer. All heads turned. It was Camille. Nia felt her stomach tighten. Camille was her younger sister. But they were nothing alike. Nia was order and logic. Camille was chaos and impulse. Camille was 34 years old, but she still acted like a teenager who had stolen her mother's credit card. Camille stood in the doorway. She was dramatic. She was making an entrance. She was wearing a black dress, but it was all wrong for a funeral. It was made of lace and it was tight. It clung to her curves in a way that was vulgar. The neckline plunged deep, exposing too much skin. She looked like she was going to a nightclub in Vegas, not a funeral repast for her brother-in-law. "Oh, God," Camille wailed. She threw her head back and let out a sob that sounded practiced. "Oh, Derrick, my poor, sweet Derrick." She stumbled into the room. She was holding a glass of wine in one hand. She bypassed Nia completely. She went straight to the center of the room where a large portrait of Derrick was displayed on an easel. She threw herself at the picture. She touched his face on the canvas. "I cannot believe you are gone," Camille cried. "What am I going to do without you? The world is so dark now." The guests whispered louder. This was the grief they wanted to see. This was the performance they understood. Nia watched from her chair. She watched her sister steal the oxygen from the room. She watched Camille sob with a theatricality that made Nia's skin crawl. But then Nia saw it. Camille raised her hand to wipe a tear from her cheek. The light from the crystal chandelier caught her wrist. There was a flash of fire and ice. It was a bracelet, a diamond tennis bracelet. The stones were large and square cut. They were set in platinum. It was heavy and expensive and undeniable. Nia stopped breathing for a second. She knew that bracelet. 3 months ago, she had found the receipt for that bracelet in Derrick's jacket pocket. It was for $12,000. When she asked him about it, he had smiled that smooth smile of his. "It is for a client, baby," he had said. "A closing gift for the matriarch of the Henderson family. We just closed that deal on the warehouse district. You know how these older women love their jewelry. It is just the cost of doing business." Nia had believed him. Why would she not? Derrick was generous with clients. It was part of his brand. But now that bracelet was on Camille's wrist. Nia stared at the diamonds. They mocked her. They sparkled with a cruel light. Why did her sister have a client gift? Why was she wearing it to the funeral? Camille turned away from the portrait. Her eyes scanned the room until they landed on Nia. For a split second, the mask of grief slipped. Camille did not look sad. She looked triumphant. She looked at Nia with a smirk that was barely visible. It was a look of challenge. Nia gripped the arm of her velvet chair. Her perfectly manicured nails dug into the fabric. The room felt suddenly hot. The smell of the fried chicken was nauseating. The voices of the guests became a buzzing noise in her ears. The perfect picture was cracking. The frame was breaking. And through the cracks, Nia could see something ugly. Something that made the grief in her chest turn into something else, something colder, something sharper. Camille walked over to Nia. She smelled of expensive wine and too much floral perfume. She leaned down and hugged Nia. It was not a warm hug. It was suffocating. "I am here for you, sis," Camille whispered in her ear. Her voice was thick with fake tears. "I know you must be lost. I know you did not really know him like I did, but do not worry. I will help you pick up the pieces." Camille pulled back. Her hand lingered on Nia's shoulder. The diamond bracelet dangled inches from Nia's face. "I promise," Camille said. Nia looked at the bracelet and then into her sister's eyes. She saw a darkness there that she had never noticed before. The ambulance sirens from 2 nights ago seemed to echo in her mind again. But this time, they were not a warning of death. They were a warning of war. 2 days after the funeral, the silence in the house broke again. This time, it was not the wail of sirens, but the shattering of glass. Nia had been sleeping in the guest bedroom. The master suite still smelled too much like Derrick's cologne. It smelled of sandalwood and betrayal. She woke up at 2 in the morning to a loud crash coming from the downstairs study. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911. She locked the door and sat with her back against the wall. She listened. She heard heavy footsteps. They were not the footsteps of someone trying to be quiet. They were the footsteps of men who were in a hurry. She heard wood splintering. She heard drawers being ripped out and thrown onto the floor. It sounded like a demolition crew was tearing apart the west wing of her home. By the time the police arrived 20 minutes later, the intruders were gone. Nia stood in the doorway of Derrick's home office and felt a cold wave of nausea wash over her. The room had been destroyed. This was not a random burglary. The 60-inch television in the den was untouched. Her jewelry box on the vanity table was still full. But Derrick's office was a war zone. Papers were scattered everywhere like snow. The leather cushions of the sofa had been sliced open with knives. The stuffing spilled out onto the Persian rug. The heavy mahogany desk had been overturned. The wall safe was open and empty. Officer Miller stood in the center of the chaos and clicked his pen. He was a young man who looked bored. He looked at the destruction with the indifference of someone ordering a sandwich. "It looks like a standard break-in, ma'am," Officer Miller said. He did not look at Nia. He was looking at the sliced sofa. "Probably just some kids looking for cash or prescription drugs. We see this a lot in the hills. They hit the big houses hoping for a quick score." Nia tightened her silk robe around her waist. She stared at him. "Standard break-in." "Officer Miller," Nia said. Her voice was ice. "Kids looking for drugs do not ignore a $3,000 television to shred financial documents. They do not slice open cushions unless they are looking for something specific. This was a search. Someone was looking for something." The officer shrugged. He finally looked at her. His eyes were dismissive. He saw a grieving widow who was paranoid. He saw a hysterical black woman in a big house who was imagining conspiracies. "We will file a report, Mrs. Williams," he said. "If you find anything specific missing, you let us know. But without security footage or fingerprints, there is not much we can do. You should call your insurance company. They will handle the damages." He handed her a small card and walked out. He did not care. To him, she was just paperwork. Nia stood alone in the wreckage. The front door clicked shut. The silence returned, but now it felt dangerous. It felt like the house itself was holding its breath. She could have gone back to bed. She could have called Ebony. But Nia did not work that way. When her world was chaotic, she created order. It was a survival mechanism. It was how she had survived law school and the cutthroat world of finance. She began to clean. It was 3 in the morning. She picked up the papers one by one. Bank statements from 2 years ago, invitations to charity galas, receipts for dry cleaning. It was the debris of a life that looked perfect on paper. She righted the heavy desk with a grunt of effort. She swept up the stuffing from the sofa. She worked for 3 hours until the sun began to bleed through the heavy velvet curtains. The physical labor kept her mind from snapping. She moved to the wall behind the desk. There was a large painting hanging there. It was an original piece by a local artist named Marcus Garvey. It depicted a jazz trumpeter in shades of blue and gold. Derrick loved this painting. He used to stand in front of it while he drank his scotch. The painting was crooked. The intruders must have knocked it when they were tossing the room. Nia reached up to straighten it. She wanted everything to be perfect again. She wanted to erase the violence of the night. Her fingers brushed against the back of the heavy frame. The canvas shifted, then she heard it. Clink. Something fell from behind the painting and hit the hardwood floor with a metallic sound. Nia looked down. Lying on the polished wood was a key. It was not a house key. It was not a safe deposit box key. It was a small brass key with a round head. Attached to it was a faded yellow plastic tag. Nia picked it up. Her hand trembled slightly. The tag had an address embossed on it in white letters. The Monarch Apartments, 1102 South Alameda Street, Unit 4B. Nia stared at the address. She knew the city of Los Angeles like the back of her hand. South Alameda was not Baldwin Hills. It was not Beverly Hills. It was on the edge of the fashion district. It was an area of old warehouses and garment factories. It was gritty. It was loud. It was a place where people lived when they had nowhere else to go. Why did Derrick have a key to an apartment on South Alameda? Why was it taped behind his favorite painting? The intruders had missed it. They had torn apart the safe and the desk, but they had not checked the back of the art. Nia squeezed the key in her fist. The metal bit into her palm. This was the first crack in the wall. This was the first piece of evidence that the man she slept next to for 16 years was a stranger. Before she could process the thought, the doorbell rang. It was 9 in the morning. Nia shoved the key into the pocket of her robe. She walked to the front door and checked the camera. It was Camille. Nia opened the door. Camille was wearing oversized sunglasses and a tracksuit that looked expensive but tacky. She held a latte in one hand. "Hey sis," Camille said. She breezed past Nia without waiting for an invitation. "I heard about the break-in. It is all over the neighborhood app. Are you okay?" That must have been terrifying. Nia closed the door. She did not ask how Camille knew so quickly. Gossip traveled faster than light in their family. "I am fine, Camille," Nia said. She walked into the kitchen. "I am just cleaning up." Camille sat on a bar stool at the kitchen island. She took a sip of her coffee. She looked around the pristine kitchen with envious eyes. "You are always cleaning," Camille said. "Even when your life is falling apart, you are cleaning. You really need to relax, Nia. You need to grieve." "I am grieving in my own way," Nia said. She poured herself a glass of water. "Why are you here, Camille? It is early." Camille sighed. She took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were puffy, but there was a sharpness to them. She looked like a predator assessing a wounded animal. "I came to check on you," Camille said, "and to talk about something important. I know this is a bad time, but I do not have a choice. The landlord is breathing down my neck." Nia set her glass down. "Here it comes. The ask." "What do you need, Camille?" Nia asked tiredly. Camille shifted on the stool. "Well, you know Derrick was helping me with my boutique idea. He really believed in my vision. He promised to loan me the startup capital. We discussed it last week. He was going to write me a check on Friday. But then, well, you know." Camille paused for dramatic effect. She looked at Nia with wide, innocent eyes. "How much?" Nia asked. $50,000, Camille said quickly. Nia almost laughed. It was a bitter sound that stayed in her throat. $50,000. Camille had never held a job for more than 6 months. Her boutique idea was likely a fantasy. Nia looked at her sister. She saw the desperation, but she also saw the lie. Nia managed their finances. Every dime Derrick spent went through her spreadsheets. Derrick gave Camille money for rent sometimes. He gave her money for car repairs, but $50,000 for a business? No. Derrick was a businessman. He would never invest that kind of capital in Camille. "He never mentioned this to me," Nia said calmly. "And I manage all the accounts, Camille. Derrick did not make investment decisions without running the numbers by me." Camille's expression hardened. Her lips thinned. "Well, maybe he did not tell you everything," Camille said. Her voice lost its sweetness. Maybe he wanted to do something nice for his family without his controlling wife analyzing every penny. "He promised me Nia. That money was practically mine." "I cannot give you $50,000, Camille," Nia said. "Her accounts are frozen until probate clears. You know that. And even if they were not, I would not give it to you." Derrick did not leave any record of this loan. Camille stood up. The stool scraped loudly against the floor. The mask was gone now. The concerned sister had vanished. Standing there was a woman consumed by entitlement and rage. "You think you know everything, don't you?" Camille spat. "You think because you sit up here in this big house that you are better than me. You think you owned him. I was his wife," Nia said. Camille laughed. It was a cruel sound. "You were his manager, Nia. You were his accountant. You were his maid. But you do not know who he really was. You have no idea what he promised people. You have no idea what he owed." "Get out," Nia said. She pointed to the door. Camille grabbed her purse. She walked to the door, but stopped. She turned back to Nia. Her eyes were cold. "You are going to regret this," Camille said. "You are going to wish you had just written me that check, because when the truth comes out, Nia, you are going to realize that $50,000 was a cheap price to pay for silence." Camille slammed the door. The sound echoed through the empty house. Nia stood in the kitchen. Her hands were shaking. What did Camille mean? What silence? She reached into her pocket and touched the brass key. The metal was warm now. Suddenly her phone rang. Nia jumped. She looked at the screen. It was an unknown number. No caller ID. She hesitated. Her instinct screamed at her not to answer. But she pressed the green button. She put the phone to her ear. "Hello," Nia said. There was a pause. She could hear breathing on the other end. It was heavy and raspy. "Mrs. Williams," a voice said. It was a man's voice. It was deep and digitally distorted. It sounded like gravel grinding against steel. "Who is this?" Nia asked. "We know you found the mess we left," the voice said. "We were looking for the files, Nia, the files Derrick took from us." Nia felt the blood drain from her face. "The intruders. I do not know what you are talking about," Nia whispered. "Do not play games," the voice hissed. "Derrick stole $5 million worth of leverage from the organization. He hid it. We know he did not trust you with the location, but we know you will find it. You are the smart one." Nia gripped the phone. "You have 24 hours to find those files," the voice said. "Or what?" Nia asked. Her voice trembled. The man on the other end laughed. It was a dry, soulless sound. "Or you will lose a lot more than a husband. We are watching you, Nia. We are watching your sister. We are watching everything. Give back what he took." The line went dead. Nia stood in the center of her perfect kitchen. The sunlight streamed in through the windows, but she felt cold. She looked down at the brass key in her hand. The address on South Alameda, 1102. That was not just an apartment. That was the hiding place. And now she was the only one who had the map. Nia sat in her car for 10 minutes before she gathered the courage to open the door. The address on the brass key had led her away from the manicured hedges of Baldwin Hills and into the gritty heart of the fashion district. This was a part of Los Angeles where the air smelled of exhaust and stale spices. The streets were lined with fabric wholesalers and discount electronics stores that had bars on the windows. Her silver Mercedes SUV looked like a spaceship that had crash-landed in a junkyard. She looked up at the building. The Monarch Apartments. It was an old brick structure that towered over the surrounding warehouses. It looked abandoned from the outside. There was graffiti sprayed across the lower-level bricks. But the heavy steel door at the entrance looked brand new. It was reinforced and modern. Nia stepped out of the car. She pulled her trench coat tighter around her body. She felt exposed. She felt like a target. The voice on the phone echoed in her mind. "We are watching you." She walked to the steel door. Her hand trembled as she inserted the brass key into the lock. She expected it not to turn. She expected this to be a mistake. but the lock clicked smoothly. The heavy door swung open with a silent hydraulic hiss. Inside the lobby was cool and smelled of industrial cleaner. It was stark and minimalist. There was no doorman. There was only a single elevator at the end of a concrete hallway. Nia walked toward it. Her heels clicked loudly on the polished concrete floor. She stepped into the elevator and inserted the key again to select the top floor. The button for the 4th floor lit up. The machine ascended. When the elevator doors opened, Nia gasped. She was not standing in a hallway. She was standing directly inside the apartment. And it was not just an apartment. It was a penthouse that spanned the entire length of the building. The space was breathtaking. It was an industrial loft with 20-foot ceilings and exposed brick walls. Sunlight poured in through floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of the downtown skyline. But it was not the view that made Nia's knees weak. It was the smell. It smelled like Derrick, not the Derrick who wore stiff suits and attended board meetings. It smelled of his natural musk, mixed with cedar and old paper. It smelled like a home. Nia took a step forward. The space was cluttered but organized. There were rows of filing cabinets lining the east wall. There were whiteboards covered in complex diagrams and flowcharts. Maps of the Cayman Islands and Switzerland were pinned to corkboards, with red string connecting different locations. This was a war room. This was where Derrick Williams ran his real business. But as Nia walked deeper into the room, the business aspect faded. The living area was warm. There was a worn leather sofa that looked soft and inviting. There were stacks of vinyl records on the floor. Jazz, blues, soul. Records that Nia would not let him play at the big house because they did not fit the aesthetic of their cocktail parties. She walked past the kitchen. There were 2 mugs in the sink. One was large and blue. The other was delicate and yellow. They looked like they had been left there just yesterday. Then she saw the wall. The entire west wall of the loft was covered in framed photographs. Hundreds of them. Nia walked toward it like a moth drawn to a flame. She felt a cold numbness spreading through her chest. These were not photos of investors. These were not photos of politicians. They were photos of a family. In every picture, Derrick was smiling, but it was a smile Nia had not seen in a decade. It was wide and unguarded. His eyes were crinkled at the corners. He was wearing jeans and t-shirts. He looked relaxed. He looked free. And in every picture he was with her. The woman was beautiful. She had skin the color of deep mahogany and hair that she wore in a wild, curly halo. She had a gap between her front teeth that made her smile look mischievous. She looked like sunlight personified. Nia reached out and touched a photo. It showed Derrick and the woman cooking together in this very kitchen. Derrick had flour on his nose. He was laughing. His arms were wrapped around her waist. "Who are you?" Nia whispered. She moved her eyes to the next row of photos. There was a child, a boy. The photos showed the boy growing up, a baby in Derrick's arms, a toddler taking his first steps on this concrete floor, a 10-year-old boy blowing out candles on a cake while Derrick and the woman cheered, a teenager standing next to Derrick at a basketball game. Nia felt like the floor was dissolving beneath her feet. This was not just an affair. This was a life. For 16 years, Nia had been the perfect wife. She had maintained his image. She had managed his social calendar. She had been the statue on the pedestal. But this woman, this stranger, she had been his heart. Nia saw a date written on the bottom of a photo in black marker. Sienna and Trey, Christmas 2010. That year, Nia and Derrick had spent Christmas in Aspen with the governor. Derrick had complained about a migraine the whole trip. He had spent hours in their hotel room claiming he needed rest. He had been calling them. He had been calling this woman, Sienna. Nia stumbled back. She hit the edge of a heavy wooden desk and gripped it for support. The betrayal was not just emotional. It was existential. Her entire reality was a lie. She was not the partner. She was the cover story. She was the polished facade that allowed Derrick to live this secret life in the shadows. She looked at the desk. There were stacks of papers. She saw a death certificate sitting on top of a pile of mail. Sienna Davis, date of death, August 14th, 2023, last year. The woman was dead. Nia stared at the paper. Cause of death, automobile accident. So Derrick had been grieving. That explained his distance over the last year. He had not been stressed about work. He had been mourning his wife, his real wife. Suddenly, the elevator chimed. Nia spun around. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She had nowhere to hide. The loft was wide open. The elevator doors slid open. A young man stepped out. He was carrying a brown paper grocery bag and wearing a gray hoodie with the hood pulled up. He stopped dead when he saw Nia. The bag slipped from his hand. It hit the floor with a heavy thud. Oranges rolled across the concrete. A carton of milk burst open and created a white puddle that expanded slowly. Nia stared at him. It was the boy from the photos. But he was not a boy anymore. He was tall. He had broad shoulders and the same sharp jawline as Derrick. His skin was the same rich mahogany as his mother's. But his eyes were Derrick's. They were deep and intelligent and currently filled with a shock that was quickly turning into rage. "You," the young man said. His voice was low and dangerous. Nia raised her hands. It was an instinct. She felt like an intruder in a sacred space. "I did not know," Nia said. Her voice shook. "I swear I did not know." The young man stepped over the spilled milk. He did not look scared. He looked furious. He looked like a storm that had been held back for too long and was finally breaking. "Get out," he said. He pointed a shaking finger at the elevator. "Get out of my house. Please," Nia said. "I found a key. I just wanted to understand." "Understand what?" The young man shouted. His voice cracked. "Understand that you won. Understand that he is dead, and now you want to take this too. Is the big house on the hill not enough for you? Did you have to come here and poison this place too?" Nia took a step back. "I am not here to take anything. I am his wife." The young man laughed. It was a bitter sound. It sounded exactly like the laugh Derrick used to give when he was closing a ruthless deal. His wife. The young man spat the word like it was poison. "You were his warden. You were the reason he could not breathe. You were the reason he had to hide us like we were a dirty secret." "I did not know," Nia repeated. Tears pricked her eyes. "He never told me, because he was terrified of you." The young man yelled. He stepped closer. He was towering over her now. He said you would destroy him. He said you would take everything if you found out. He said you were cold and calculating, and you cared more about your reputation than his happiness. Nia felt the words hit her like physical blows. Was that what Derrick told them? That she was the villain? That she was the monster keeping him captive? She looked at the young man. This was Trey. This was his son. Her husband had a son who hated her, a son who had been raised to view her as the enemy. "Trey," Nia said. She saw his name on a birthday card on the desk. "Trey, please listen. I am not who he told you I was. Do not say my name." Trey snarled. "You do not get to say my name. My mother is dead because of the stress of this life. My father is dead because he worked himself into the ground trying to keep up with your demands. And now you are here, standing in her kitchen, looking at her photos." He lunged forward and grabbed Nia's arm. His grip was strong. He tried to shove her toward the elevator. "Leave," he shouted. "Go back to your mansion and rot." Nia stumbled. Her heel caught on the edge of the rug, but then she remembered the voice on the phone. "We are watching you." She remembered the threat. If she left now, she would never get back in. If she left now, she would not find the files. If she left now, she might die. Nia planted her feet. She used her free hand to shove Trey back. She was not a weak woman. She worked out 5 days a week with a trainer. She pushed him with all her strength. Trey stumbled back. He looked surprised. "I am not leaving," Nia said. Her voice was hard now. The tears were gone. Trey stared at her. His chest was heaving. "You have 5 seconds before I call the police," Trey said. "Call them," Nia challenged. "Go ahead. Tell them who you are. Tell them whose son you are. Do you think that will end well for you, Trey? Do you think the media won't eat this up? The secret bastard son of Derrick Williams living in a luxury penthouse paid for with money that does not exist on the books." Trey froze. The anger in his eyes flickered with uncertainty. Nia adjusted her trench coat. She smoothed her hair. She channeled the version of herself that used to terrify junior analysts in the boardroom. "We have a problem, Trey," Nia said calmly, "and it is bigger than your hatred for me." "What are you talking about?" Trey asked. He was wary now. Nia reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. She played the voicemail from the distorted voice. "Give back what he took, or you will lose a lot more than a husband." The mechanical voice filled the silent loft. Trey listened. His face paled. The anger drained away and was replaced by recognition. "You know who that is," Nia stated. It was not a question. Trey looked at the floor. He looked at the spilled milk. He looked defeated. "It is Sterling," Trey whispered. "Who is Sterling?" Nia asked. Trey looked up at her. His eyes were haunted. "He is the reason my father is dead," Trey said. "And if he called you, then he knows. He knows the shield is gone." "What shield?" Nia asked. "My dad," Trey said. "My dad was the only thing keeping Sterling from burning everything down. And now we are both exposed." Nia looked at the young man. He was not an enemy. He was terrified, just like her. She took a deep breath. She looked at the wall of photos. She looked at the life she was never part of. She swallowed her pride. She swallowed her hurt. "We need to find the files, Trey," Nia said, "before they come here. Because if they found me at my house, they will find you here. And I do not think they plan on knocking next time." Trey hesitated. He looked at her with distrust, but he was smart. He knew he was out of his depth. "They are in the safe," Trey said quietly. "But I do not have the code." Only Dad had the code. Nia looked at him. "I might have it," she said. She reached for her neck. She touched the empty space where her necklace usually sat. The sapphire necklace Derrick gave her 3 days before he died. The necklace was at home, but she remembered the inscription on the back. It was a date. She had thought it was their anniversary, but the numbers had been wrong. 0814, August 14th. She looked at the death certificate on the desk. August 14th, the day Sienna died. Nia closed her eyes. Even his final gift to her was a tribute to the other woman. "Try 0814. Nia said softly. Trey looked at her. He walked to a painting of a jazz saxophone player on the far wall. He swung it open. Behind it was a steel safe. He punched in the numbers. Beep, click. The safe door swung open. Trey turned to look at Nia. There was no victory in his eyes, only sadness. "It worked," he said. Nia walked over. She stood next to the son she never knew she had. She looked into the safe. Inside was a hard drive, a stack of cash, and a gun. "We are in trouble," Nia said. Trey nodded. He looked at the gun. "Yes," he said. "We are." The safe stood open like a metal mouth that had finally decided to speak. Inside the black steel box lay the hard drive, the stacks of $100 bills, and the Glock 19 pistol that looked cold and out of place in a home filled with family photos. Nia stared at the gun. She had never held a weapon in her life. Her weapons were contracts and non-disclosure agreements. Her weapons were silence and a perfectly arched eyebrow. But looking at the dull gray metal, she realized those tools were useless here. "We are not enemies, Trey," Nia said. Her voice was steady, but low. She turned her back on the safe and faced him. "We are just two people standing in the wreckage of the same lie." Trey looked at her. He was still breathing hard. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides. He looked like a cornered animal trying to decide whether to bite or run. "You do not know anything about us," Trey said. "You sit there in your designer coat and you think you understand. You think because you found a key you know the story." "Then tell me," Nia said. She took a step closer. She made sure her hands were open and visible. Tell me the story, Trey. Because right now the only thing I know is that a man with a distorted voice wants to hurt us both. And if we do not work together, we are going to end up just like your father. Trey flinched at the mention of his father. He looked away toward the wall of photos. He looked at the picture of the woman with the warm smile and the gap between her teeth. Her name was Sienna, Trey said softly. Nia waited. She did not rush him. She worked 2 jobs. Trey continued. She was a nurse at County General and she did catering on the weekends. She did not need his money. She never asked him for a dime. She loved him because he made her laugh. She loved him because when he was here, he wasn't Derrick Williams the mogul. He was just a man who liked jazz and burnt toast. Nia felt a pang of jealousy so sharp it almost doubled her over. Burnt toast. Derrick used to yell at the housekeeper if his eggs were too runny. He kept us hidden to protect us, Trey said. That is what he told her. He said his world was dangerous. He said there were sharks in the water who would use us against him. Mom believed him. She thought he was being noble. But you didn't, Nia said. Trey laughed bitterly. I knew better. I knew he was ashamed. I knew he wanted the best of both worlds. He wanted the trophy wife and the mansion for the cameras. And he wanted the warm bed and the home-cooked meal for his soul. He was selfish. Nia nodded. She could not argue with that. She had been the armor. Sienna had been the flesh. And Derrick had worn them both out. Last year. Trey's voice cracked. He wiped his nose with the sleeve of his hoodie. Last year, Mom started asking questions. She saw things. She saw cash moving in and out of this apartment. She saw men like Sterling coming to the building late at night. She told Dad she wanted out. She told him she was going to take me and move to Atlanta. And then she died, Nia said. Trey looked at her with eyes that were wet and burning. The brakes failed, he said. She was driving down La Brea, and her brakes just stopped working. She hit a utility pole at 50 miles per hour. The police called it a mechanical failure. They said it was an accident. But you do not think it was an accident, Nia said. Trey walked over to the safe. He reached past the gun and grabbed a manila envelope that was tucked under the stacks of cash. Dad didn't think so either, Trey said. After the funeral, he changed. He became paranoid. He stopped coming here as much. He started drinking. He told me that if anything happened to him, I needed to disappear. He gave me this. Trey held out the envelope. Nia took it. Her fingers brushed against his rough skin. The envelope was light. Inside was a single sheet of yellow legal paper. It was covered in Derrick's handwriting. It was frantic and messy. It was not the neat script he used on birthday cards. This was the writing of a man who was looking over his shoulder. Nia read the words. Derrick Williams, being of sound mind and terrified heart, leave this instruction for my son Trey. If you are reading this, I have failed to fix the mess I made. The assets in the offshore accounts are not just money. They are leverage. They are the insurance policy against the men who own my debt. Nia scanned down the page. Her eyes widened as she read the next paragraph. Access to the full ledger is encrypted. The key to the encryption is not a number. It is a physical object. I have given the sapphire code to the only person they will not suspect. I gave it to Nia. It is in the necklace. The code is the stone itself. Nia looked up. Her hand went to her throat again. The sapphire necklace. The deep blue stone surrounded by diamonds. She had left it on her dresser in the guest room. She had thought it was just a guilt gift, a bauble to apologize for working late. The necklace, Nia whispered. He gave it to me 3 days before he died. Trey nodded. He told me he hid the cipher in a piece of jewelry. He said he gave it to you because you never look closely at things. You just put them in the safe and forget them. The insult stung, but Nia pushed it aside. Derrick had used her predictability as a hiding spot. He had turned his wife into a safe deposit box. The hard drive in the safe contains the encrypted files, Trey said. He pointed to the black drive. But without that necklace, it is just junk data. We need both pieces to see what he was hiding. Nia looked at the paper again. Why did he not just give it to you? Because they watch me, Trey said. Sterling has had eyes on this building since Mom died. They knew I was the son. They thought I had the files. They never suspected the wife in the ivory tower. Nia felt a chill run down her spine. The voice on the phone said they were watching her now. They had figured it out, or at least they suspected. "We have to go," Nia said. She folded the paper and put it in her pocket. "We need to get that hard drive and we need to get out of here. My house is not safe, but neither is this place." Trey hesitated. He looked around the loft. This was his home. This was the only place he had left of his mother. "We cannot stay, Trey," Nia urged. "If Sterling called me, he knows I found the key. He knows I'm coming here." Trey nodded slowly. He reached into the safe and grabbed the hard drive. He shoved it into the pocket of his hoodie. Then he paused. He reached back in and grabbed the gun. "Trey," Nia warned. "I am not leaving it for them," Trey said. He tucked the gun into his waistband and pulled his hoodie down. "I am riding with you." Nia did not argue. She needed him. He knew the players. He knew the streets. And whether she liked it or not, he was family. He was the only family she had left in this mess. They walked to the elevator in silence. The descent felt longer than the ride up. The metal box hummed and rattled. Nia watched the numbers change. 4, 3, 2, 1. When the doors opened, the lobby was empty. The silence was thick and heavy. "My car is out front," Nia said. "We will go to my friend Ebony's office. She is a lawyer. She has a secure building." Trey pulled his hood up over his head. He kept his head down. He moved with a wariness that broke Nia's heart. No 24-year-old should have to walk like that. No son should have to be afraid of his father's legacy. They pushed through the heavy steel doors and stepped out into the blinding afternoon sun. The air was hot and smelled of asphalt. Nia walked toward her car. She was fishing for her keys in her purse. She was thinking about the necklace. She was thinking about the lie that was her marriage. Then she stopped. Her breath caught in her throat. Her silver Mercedes was parked exactly where she had left it. But it was no longer pristine. The windshield was shattered. It looked like a spiderweb of frosted glass that had been smashed in the center with a baseball bat. The side windows were gone completely. Glass littered the sidewalk like diamonds. But it was not the broken glass that made Nia's stomach turn. It was the driver's seat. Sitting on the creamy beige leather was a pig's head. It was severed and bloody. Its eyes were open and staring blankly at the steering wheel. Blood had soaked into the expensive perforated leather. It dripped down onto the floor mats. And pinned to the pig's ear with a long serrated knife was a note. Nia could not move. Her feet were rooted to the pavement. She felt the bile rising in her throat. This was not a warning. This was a promise. Trey grabbed her arm. His grip was tight and painful. "Do not look at it," he hissed. He pulled her back, but Nia could not look away. She saw the words scrawled on the note in thick black marker. The letters were jagged and angry. "Next time it is your pretty face." Nia felt her knees give out. The world tilted. The smell of the blood hit her then. It was metallic and sweet and rotting. It mixed with the smell of the street and the smell of her own fear. "They are here," Trey whispered. He looked around wildly. He scanned the rooftops. He scanned the parked cars across the street. "We have to move, now." He dragged Nia away from the car. He dragged her away from the blood and the glass and the brutal message. "Where?" Nia gasped. She could barely breathe. "My truck," Trey said. "Around the corner. Run!" Nia ran. She ran in her expensive heels. She ran past the fabric stores and the taco stands. She ran until her lungs burned and her heart felt like it was going to explode. She ran away from the life she thought she knew and into a darkness she was just beginning to understand. The sanctuary of Ebony's home was a stark contrast to the blood-soaked sidewalk on South Alameda. Ebony lived in a gated community in View Park that was guarded by armed security and high fences. Her house was a modern fortress of glass and steel that smelled of white sage and aggressive litigation. Nia sat at the marble kitchen island. Her hands were wrapped around a mug of herbal tea, but she was not drinking it. She was staring at the steam rising in the cool air. Trey was in the guest room down the hall. He had passed out from exhaustion the moment his head hit the pillow. He was still wearing his hoodie. He slept with the Glock 19 on the nightstand. Ebony paced the floor in her barefoot grandeur. She was wearing a silk caftan and her reading glasses were perched on the end of her nose. She was typing furiously on her laptop. Ebony was the best corporate attorney in the city. She was the kind of woman who ate sharks for breakfast and used their bones for toothpicks. "This is a mess, Nia," Ebony said without looking up. Her voice was sharp. "I pulled the incorporation papers for Mercury South. It is a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. But the signatories are interesting." "Who signed them?" Nia asked. Her voice sounded hollow to her own ears. "Derrick signed as the primary," Ebony said. "But there is a secondary witness signature on the loan documents. It is illegible, but the notary stamp is local. It was notarized by a woman named Patrice Miller." Nia frowned. Patrice Miller? The name sounded familiar. She was the notary at the bank where Camille banked. Nia remembered. She had driven Camille there once when her car broke down. Camille used to brag about how she had a friend at the bank who waived her overdraft fees. Ebony stopped typing. She looked at Nia over the rim of her glasses. "Why would your sister's friend be notarizing offshore loan documents for your husband?" Ebony asked. The question hung in the air like smoke. It connected dots that Nia did not want to connect. The bracelet, the $50,000 loan request, the tears that seemed too theatrical, the client gift that ended up on Camille's wrist. Nia stood up. She felt a sudden surge of energy that was hot and restless. She could not sit here drinking tea while her life was being dissected. She needed to see her. She needed to look into her sister's eyes and see the truth. "Where are you going?" Ebony asked. "I need to ask Camille about the money," Nia said. She grabbed her purse. "Nia," Ebony warned. She closed her laptop. "Do not go there alone. We do not know how deep she is involved. If she is connected to Mercury South, she might be connected to Sterling. I have to know Ebony," Nia said. "She is my sister. We share blood. I need to know if that blood is poisoned." Ebony sighed. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a small canister of pepper spray. She slid it across the counter. "Take this," Ebony said, "and keep your location on. If you are not back in 2 hours, I'm sending private security to drag you out." Nia drove Ebony's spare car. It was a black Range Rover that felt like a tank. She drove toward downtown, but not to the gritty streets of the fashion district. She drove to the arts district. Camille lived in the Vantage. It was a luxury high-rise building where the rent started at $4,000 a month. Nia had never really questioned how Camille afforded it. Derrick had always said he helped her with the deposit and that Camille had some consulting gigs. Nia had been too busy running her own household to audit her sister's life. Now that blindness felt like a crime. Nia parked the car and walked into the lobby. The concierge recognized her. "Good evening, Mrs. Williams," he said with a polite nod. "Ms. Camille is in. Shall I announce you?" "No," Nia said. She kept walking toward the elevators. "I want to surprise her." The elevator ride to the 22nd floor was smooth and silent. Nia watched her reflection in the mirrored doors. She looked composed. She looked like the grieving widow. But beneath the surface, she was a coiled spring. She reached apartment 22B. She did not knock. She knew Camille rarely locked her door when she was home because she claimed it blocked the flow of chi. Nia tried the handle. It turned. Nia stepped inside. The apartment was freezing. The air conditioning was blasting. Soft R&B music was playing from invisible speakers. The lights were dimmed to a romantic glow. "Camille," Nia called out. There was no answer. Nia walked further into the room. The apartment was decorated in shades of cream and gold. It looked like a page out of a catalog. It was expensive. The rug was silk. The lamps were crystal. There was no way Camille paid for this with consulting gigs. Nia walked into the kitchen, and then she froze. The refrigerator was a massive stainless steel appliance that cost more than most people's cars. And right in the center of the door, held up by a magnet from Paris, was a photograph. It was a small black and white image. It was grainy, but the shape was unmistakable. It was an ultrasound. Nia stared at the image. Her heart stopped beating for a second. She stepped closer. She squinted at the text printed in the corner of the scan. Patient, Camille Davis. Date, October 12th. That was 3 weeks ago. Nia felt the floor tilt. A baby. Camille was pregnant. Well, a voice said from the living room. "Look who decided to drop by." Nia turned around slowly. Camille was lounging on the white sectional sofa. She was wearing a silk robe that was the exact same shade of blue as the one Derrick had bought Nia last Christmas. Her feet were bare and pedicured. In her hand, she held a large glass of red wine. She looked relaxed. She looked like a queen on her throne. Nia looked at the wine glass and then back at the ultrasound. "You are pregnant," Nia said. Her voice was a whisper. Camille took a slow sip of the wine. She savored it. She did not look ashamed. She looked bored. "I am," Camille said. She set the glass down on the coffee table. 11 weeks along, it is a strong heartbeat. Nia felt a wave of confusion. "Who is the father?" Camille smiled. It was a slow reptile smile that spread across her face without reaching her eyes. She uncrossed her legs and stood up. She walked toward Nia with a swaying hip motion that was meant to be provocative. "Oh, Nia," Camille said softly. "You are so smart with your numbers and your spreadsheets. You can balance a portfolio in your sleep, but you really are blind when it comes to people." Nia stared at her sister. The pieces of the puzzle slammed together with violent force. The money, the client bracelet, the secret meetings, the way Camille had thrown herself at Derrick's portrait. "No," Nia whispered. Camille laughed. It was light and airy. "Yes," Camille said. Nia backed away until her hip hit the marble counter. She felt like she was going to be sick. "How could you?" Nia asked. Her voice shook. "He was my husband. He was your brother-in-law." Camille shrugged. She picked up an apple from the fruit bowl and examined it. "He was a man, Nia," Camille said. "A man who was tired of coming home to a statue. A man who wanted warmth. A man who wanted to feel like a king and not just an employee in his own marriage." "You slept with him," Nia said. The words tasted like ash. "I loved him," Camille corrected. "And he loved me. We were going to be a family. He was going to leave you, Nia. He was just waiting for the right time. He wanted to make sure you were taken care of financially because he felt guilty. But his heart left you a long time ago." Nia looked at the ultrasound on the fridge. "And the baby?" Nia asked. Camille placed a hand on her stomach. She smoothed the silk over a bump that was barely visible. "He was so happy when I told him," Camille said. Her eyes gleamed with malice. "He cried, Nia. He actually cried. He said it was a second chance, a chance to do it right this time." Nia felt the tears prick her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She would not cry in front of this monster. "He already had a son," Nia said. "He had Trey." Camille's face darkened for a split second. Then she recovered her mask. Trey was a mistake. Camille waved her hand dismissively. A relic from a past life with some ghetto nurse. But this baby was our future. This baby is the heir to everything he built. Nia looked at the wine glass again. It was half empty. "If you are so happy about this baby, why are you drinking?" Nia asked coldly. Camille rolled her eyes. "It is one glass, Nia. Don't be such a prude. My doctor said it is fine to relax. Besides, I need it. Dealing with you is exhausting." Nia looked at her sister. She looked at the luxury apartment. She looked at the stolen life. "You wanted $50,000, Nia said. Camille smiled. "That was just a test. I wanted to see if you would be generous. I wanted to see if you would share what was rightfully mine. But you failed. You always fail, Nia. You are so stingy with your love and your money." "It is not your money," Nia said. "It is now," Camille snapped. Her voice rose. She took a step closer. "I am carrying his child. In the eyes of the law, that makes me family. That makes this baby a beneficiary. I will sue you for every dime in that estate. I will drag you through probate court until you are broke." Nia looked at her. She saw the greed. She saw the hatred. But mostly she saw the insecurity. Camille had always been the shadow, and now she was trying to steal the light. "You hate me," Nia said. "It was a realization. You have always hated me." Camille's face twisted. The beauty vanished. "Of course I hate you," Camille hissed. "You had everything. The grades, the career, the perfect husband. Mom always looked at you like you were the second coming of Christ. And I was just the screw-up, the pretty one with no brain. Well, who is the smart one now, Nia? Camille gestured to her stomach. I have the one thing you could never give him, Camille said. Her voice dropped to a cruel whisper. I have life inside me, and you are just a barren tree in a dead garden. The insult hit Nia in the chest like a physical blow. It targeted the one pain Nia had never spoken about. The years of fertility treatments, the silent tears in bathroom stalls. Derrick had always told her it didn't matter. He said they were enough, but he had lied. He had gone and created families with 2 other women while Nia injected herself with hormones and prayed for a miracle. Nia looked at Camille. She looked at the smug satisfaction on her sister's face. Nia did not scream. She did not throw the wine glass. A strange calm settled over her. It was the calm of a general who realizes the enemy has just revealed their position. You are right, Nia said softly. Camille blinked. She looked confused. She had expected a fight. She had expected screaming. I am, Camille asked. Nia straightened her spine. She pulled her trench coat tight. You have something I never had, Nia said. You have his child, and you have his secrets. Nia walked to the door. She opened it and turned back to look at her sister one last time. But be careful, Camille, Nia said. Her voice was low and steady, because when you inherit a man's life, you inherit his enemies too. And Derrick had a lot of enemies. What does that mean? Camille asked. Her voice faltered slightly. Nia did not answer. She walked out and let the heavy door click shut behind her. She walked down the hallway. Her heels clicked on the floor. She did not cry. The sadness was gone. It had been burned away by the fire of the truth. Camille was not just a mistress. She was a liability. And if she was connected to Mercury South, she was in danger. Nia pressed the elevator button. She took out her phone and texted Ebony. She is pregnant. And she is at war. Nia stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed, she saw her reflection. Her eyes were dry. Her jaw was set. The grieving widow was dead. The silent queen was awake. Nia's hand was on the cold metal of the door handle. She had delivered her warning about Derrick's enemies, and she was ready to walk away. She wanted to leave the scent of Camille's expensive perfume and the sight of that damning ultrasound far behind her. She wanted to scrub her skin until it was raw, but Camille was not done. The silence that followed Nia's threat did not last. It was broken by a sound that made Nia freeze. It was a laugh, but it was not the light, airy laugh from before. It was a low, guttural sound that bubbled up from a place of deep, toxic rot. You always have to have the last word, Camille said. Her voice was shaking now, not with fear, but with a rage that had been fermenting for decades. You just cannot help yourself. Even when you are losing, you have to act like the queen. Nia turned slowly. She did not release the door handle. I am not acting, Camille, Nia said. I am stating facts. Facts, Camille screamed. The word ripped through the carefully decorated apartment. She threw the apple she was holding. It hit the wall inches from Nia's head and exploded with a wet thud. Pieces of fruit scattered across the silk rug. You want facts, Nia? Camille shouted. She marched across the room. Her silk robe billowed behind her like the wings of a vengeful spirit. Here is a fact. Mom loved you more. Dad loved you more. Everyone loved Nia, the golden child. Nia, the lawyer. Nia, the one who did everything right. Nia watched her sister unravel. The mask of the cool mistress was gone. Standing there was the little girl who used to cry because her grades were not good enough. This is not about Mom, Nia said calmly. This is about you sleeping with my husband. It is about everything, Camille yelled. She stopped 3 feet from Nia. Her chest was heaving. Do you know what it is like to be the shadow? Do you know what it is like to watch your sister get the praise and the awards and the rich husband while you are struggling to pay your phone bill? So you stole him, Nia said. You decided that because you could not earn your own life, you would take mine. I took what he offered. Camille spat. And do not act like it was just a fling. Do not act like I was just some warm body he used. We were in love, Nia. Real love, not the business arrangement you two had. Nia felt a coldness spread through her veins. It was the anesthesia of shock. How long? Nia asked. Camille smiled. It was a cruel, victorious smile. 3 years. Camille said. The words hung in the air. 3 years. Nia's mind flashed back. 3 years ago. That was the year she had planned the surprise 40th birthday party for Derrick on a yacht. He had been so touched. He had cried during her toast. He had held her that night and told her she was his rock. And all that time he was sleeping with her sister. 3 years ago. That was the year Nia had undergone her 3rd round of IVF. She remembered the bruising on her stomach from the injections. She remembered the crushing depression when the doctor said it failed. Derrick had held her hand. He had said, "We will get through this." He was lying. He was leaving her bed to go to Camille's. "You are lying," Nia whispered. "Ask him." Camille taunted. "Oh, wait, you can't. But I can prove it. Do you remember the weekend he went to the conference in San Francisco last July? The one where he could not get reception?" Nia nodded slowly. "We were in Napa," Camille said. "We stayed at the auberge. We drank wine and sat by the fire and talked about baby names. He told me he was suffocating with you. He said living in that big house with you was like living in a museum. Nothing could be touched. Nothing was real." Nia felt the air leave her lungs. The San Francisco trip. She had packed his suitcase. She had ironed his shirts. "He was going to leave you," Camille said. She took a step closer. She wanted to see the pain in Nia's eyes. She was feeding on it. He was just waiting for the baby to be born. He wanted to make sure the paternity was established so he could get custody. He was going to file for divorce in January. Nia leaned back against the door. The physical weight of the betrayal was crushing. It was not just cheating. It was an erasure. Derrick had been systematically planning to delete her from his life and replace her with her own sister. "He promised me," Camille whispered. Her voice dropped to a sinister hiss. He said, "Camille, you are the one I should have married. You are the fire. Nia is just the ice." Nia looked at her sister. She looked at the woman who shared her blood, the woman she had defended on the playground when they were children, the woman she had loaned money to 1,000 times. "You are pathetic," Nia said. The smile vanished from Camille's face. "What did you say?" Camille asked. "I said you are pathetic," Nia said. Her voice was gaining strength. It was rising from the ashes of her shock. "You think you won. You think because you spread your legs for my husband that you achieved something. But look at you, Camille. You are pregnant by a dead man who lied to everyone he ever met. You are alone in a high-rise apartment paid for with stolen money." "It is not stolen," Camille shrieked. "It is his money. It is my money, and I will get every penny of it." Nia shook her head. "You really do not understand, do you? I understand that I have the heir," Camille shouted. She placed her hands protectively over her stomach. "This baby is the key. I have already spoken to a lawyer. I am going to sue the estate. I am going to demand a DNA test on the amniotic fluid. And once it is proven that this is Derrick's child, I will take half of everything. The house, the accounts, the cars. You will destroy the family name," Nia said. "I do not care about the name," Camille screamed. "I care about the cash. I am going to sell my story to the tabloids, Nia. The perfect widow and the secret sister. Can you imagine the headlines? Can you imagine the shame? You will be the laughingstock of Los Angeles, the barren wife who could not keep her man." Camille was panting. Her eyes were wild. She was drunk on power and wine and hormones. "I will ruin you, Nia," Camille said, "unless you write me a check. $5 million. That is the price. You pay me and I go away. I raise the baby quietly. You refuse and I burn your perfect world to the ground." Nia looked at her. She looked at the greed that had consumed her sister's soul. There was no love there. There was no grief for Derrick. There was only a hunger for what Nia had. Nia moved. It was not a conscious decision. It was a reflex born of absolute disgust. She stepped forward. Her motion was fluid and fast. She raised her right hand. Her palm was open. Crack. The sound of the slap was loud and sharp like a pistol shot. Nia's hand connected with Camille's cheek with perfect precision. It was not a slap of jealousy. It was not a slap of a woman fighting over a man. It was the slap of a mother correcting a wayward child. It was a slap of judgment. Camille stumbled back. She gasped and brought her hand to her cheek. Her eyes were wide with shock. She had not expected physical retaliation. Nia was the calm one. Nia was the lawyer. Nia did not hit. "You are not a victim, Camille," Nia said. Her voice was terrifyingly quiet. "And you are not a winner. You are a parasite." Nia lowered her hand. Her palm stung, but it felt clean. "Do not ever threaten me again," Nia said. "You want to go to the press? Go ahead. You want to sue? Go ahead. But remember what I told you. Derrick's money is not just money. It is blood. And if you fight for it, you are going to drown in it." Camille stared at her. A red welt was blooming on her perfect cheek. For the first time, the arrogance was gone, replaced by a flicker of genuine fear. "Get out," Camille whispered. Nia did not wait to be told twice. She turned and opened the door. She walked out into the sterile hallway. She did not look back. She walked to the elevator. Her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She pressed the down button. She needed air. She needed to breathe. The elevator arrived. She stepped in. The doors closed. Nia leaned her forehead against the cool, mirrored wall. She closed her eyes. The image of the ultrasound burned in her mind. A baby, a niece or nephew that was also a stepchild, a symbol of the ultimate betrayal. Derrick was a monster. He had played them all. He had played Nia. He had played Sienna. And in his own way, he had played Camille too. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Nia ignored it. She just wanted to get to the car. It buzzed again and again, long, insistent vibrations that meant emergency. Nia pulled the phone out. It was Ebony. Nia answered. "I am leaving now, Ebony. I am fine." "Nia." Ebony's voice was breathless. She was not using her calm lawyer voice. She sounded panicked. "Where are you?" "I am in the elevator at the Vantage," Nia said. "Why?" "Listen to me very carefully," Ebony said. "I have been monitoring the flagged accounts, the secret offshore accounts we found in the breakdown of Mercury South." Nia straightened up. "What about them?" "Someone is accessing them right now," Ebony said. "They are trying to initiate a wire transfer of $200,000 to a shell corporation in Panama." "Is it sterling?" Nia asked. "No," Ebony said. Her voice dropped. "That is the thing, Nia. I traced the IP address. It is not coming from a hacker farm in Russia or a burner phone. It is a residential IP." Nia felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. The elevator chimed as it reached the lobby. "Where is it coming from, Ebony?" Nia asked. "It is coming from the Vantage," Ebony said. "Apartment 22B." Nia froze. The doors opened, but she did not move. "Camille," Nia whispered. "She is not just the mistress, Nia," Ebony said. Her voice was urgent. "She has the admin codes. She is logging in as a secondary user. Do you understand what that means? She is not just sleeping with him. She is part of the operation. She is helping them move the money." Nia stared at the lobby. The concierge was smiling at someone on the phone. The world looked normal, but inside the phone, the truth was screaming. Camille was not just trying to steal the inheritance. She was stealing the dirty money. She was one of the thieves. "Get out of there, Nia," Ebony shouted. "If she is moving money, Sterling will see it too. He will see the login. He will send someone to that apartment." Nia hung up the phone. She looked back at the elevator. She looked up toward the 22nd floor. Camille was up there, nursing her slapped cheek, initiating a transfer that would alert the most dangerous men in Los Angeles. Nia ran toward the glass doors. She had to get to Trey. She had to get the hard drive, because now she knew the truth. The enemy was not just at the gate. The enemy was blood, and blood was about to be spilled. Nia tore out of the parking garage of the Vantage. Her hands gripped the steering wheel of the black Range Rover until her knuckles turned white. She did not look back at the luxury high-rise where her sister was currently moving dirty money with a few clicks of a mouse. She looked forward. She looked at survival. She drove fast. She wove through the downtown traffic with an aggression she had never possessed before. She made it back to Ebony's house in View Park in record time. Trey was waiting in the driveway. He was pacing. He had the hood of his sweatshirt up, and his hands were shoved deep into his pockets. Ebony stood next to him. She was dressed now in a sharp gray power suit. She held a leather briefcase in one hand and her phone in the other. "Get in," Nia shouted as she slammed on the brakes. Trey did not hesitate. He jumped into the driver's seat as Nia scrambled into the passenger side. Ebony slid into the back. "Federal Trust on Grand Avenue," Nia said. "And drive like you stole it, Trey, because I think we are about to be followed." Trey slammed the gear shift into drive. The heavy SUV roared. They peeled out of the driveway just as a matte black sedan turned the corner onto the quiet residential street. "They are here," Trey said. His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. "It is Sterling's crew. I recognize the grill." "Hold on," Trey said calmly. He stomped on the gas pedal. The Range Rover surged forward. The chase was on. They were flying down Crenshaw Boulevard. The black sedan was gaining on them. It wove through traffic with reckless precision. These were not amateurs. These were professionals who were paid to clean up messes. And right now, the mess was inside Ebony's car. Trey swerved into the oncoming lane to bypass a slow-moving bus. Horns blared, tires screeched. Nia grabbed the dashboard handle. "You are going to kill us," Nia gasped. "Better me than them," Trey said. His face was a mask of concentration. He knew these streets. He knew the rhythm of the traffic. He took a sharp right onto a side street, then a quick left into an alleyway that looked too narrow for the SUV. Mirrors scraped against brick walls. Sparks flew, but they popped out on the other side onto a busy avenue, leaving the black sedan stuck behind a delivery truck. "We lost them," Trey said. He let out a breath he had been holding. "For now. Keep moving," Ebony said from the back seat. She was typing on her phone. "I just got a notification. The transfer from Camille's IP was blocked by the bank's fraud algorithm. That means Sterling knows the money is stuck. He will be desperate. He's going to send everyone he has to the bank." "We have 10 minutes until the branch closes," Nia said. She checked her watch. It was 4:50 in the afternoon. Trey merged onto the freeway. He pushed the engine to its limit. They reached downtown Los Angeles in 8 minutes. The Federal Trust Building was a monolith of gray stone and tinted glass. It looked impenetrable. It looked like a fortress where secrets went to die. Trey pulled up to the curb. "Stay with the car," Nia told him. "Keep the engine running. If you see that black sedan, you honk." "I got you," Trey said. He pulled the Glock 19 from his waistband and tucked it under his thigh. "I am not letting anyone near this car." Nia and Ebony ran up the steps. The security guard was just locking the glass doors. "We are closed, ma'am," he said. He pointed to the sign. "Please," Nia said. She put her hand on the glass. Her chest was heaving. "It is an emergency." The guard shook his head. "Come back tomorrow at 9. Nia looked at Ebony. This was it. The moment of truth. She could not use force. She could not use logic. She had to use the one weapon she had left, the weapon Camille had mocked. She had to use her grief. Nia let her shoulders slump. She let the tears that had been threatening to fall all day finally spill over. She let out a sob that was raw and broken. "My husband died 3 days ago," Nia wailed. She slumped against the door. The performance was rooted in real pain, so it was terrifyingly convincing. Ebony caught her arm. She played the part of the concerned friend perfectly. "Please, sir," Ebony said. She flashed her expensive watch and her desperate eyes. "She just needs to retrieve the cufflinks for the burial. The funeral is tomorrow morning. If she does not get them, she is falling apart. Please, have a heart." The guard looked at Nia. He saw the expensive clothes. He saw the genuine tears streaming down her face. He saw a broken woman who just wanted to bury her husband with dignity. He sighed. He unlocked the door. 5 minutes, he said, "and only because my mother would haunt me if I said no to a widow." "Thank you," Nia whispered. "Thank you so much." They hurried inside. The lobby was empty and echoed with the sound of their heels. They went straight to the safety deposit viewing room. The vault manager was a stern woman named Mrs. Higgins. She looked like she ate rules for lunch. "I need access to box 404, Nia said. She handed over her ID and the death certificate she had been carrying in her purse. Mrs. Higgins adjusted her glasses. She looked at the paperwork. "This box is registered to a Mercury South Holdings," she said. "Derrick Williams is the signatory. But without a probate court order, I cannot grant access to the spouse. It is bank policy." Nia felt panic rising in her throat. She looked at Ebony. Ebony stepped forward. She placed her leather briefcase on the counter with a heavy thud. "Mrs. Higgins," Ebony said. Her voice was low and lethal. "I am Ebony Clark, senior partner at Clark & Associates. If you deny access to Mrs. Williams today, I will have a subpoena on your desk by 8 in the morning. I will also file a complaint regarding the bank's handling of the sensitive, time-sensitive assets for a high-net-worth client. Do you really want to explain to your regional VP why you caused a scene over a pair of cufflinks?" Mrs. Higgins hesitated. She looked at the crying widow. She looked at the shark lawyer. She looked at the clock. "Fine," she said tightly. "Do you have the key?" Nia froze. The key. She did not have a physical key to the box. The brass key from the painting was for the apartment. Trey said the code was in the necklace, but this was a bank box. It usually required 2 keys, one from the bank and one from the client. Unless it was a biometric box. Derrick loved gadgets. He loved high security. "I have the access token," Nia said. She prayed she was right. She reached into her purse. Her fingers closed around the cold metal of the sapphire necklace. She had grabbed it from her dresser before leaving the house. She pulled it out. The blue stone caught the fluorescent light. Mrs. Higgins' eyes widened. "That is a legacy access key," she said. "We haven't used those in years." Nia handed her the necklace. Mrs. Higgins took it. She turned the pendant over. There was a small indentation on the back. She placed the pendant into a specialized slot on the desk reader. "Beep. Authorization confirmed," the automated voice said. Nia let out a breath. "Derrick, you paranoid genius." Mrs. Higgins led them into the vault. The air was cold and smelled of dust and money. Walls of steel boxes surrounded them, Mrs. Higgins unlocked a large drawer and pulled out a long metal box. She placed it on the table in the private viewing room. "I will give you privacy," she said. The door clicked shut. Nia stared at the box. This was it, the final piece of the puzzle. "Open it," Ebony whispered. Nia lifted the lid. Inside there were no cufflinks. There was a black velvet jewelry box, a thick manila folder, and a silver USB drive that looked identical to the one they found in the apartment safe. Nia reached for the velvet box first. Her heart was pounding. Why would Derrick leave jewelry here? She snapped the box open. It was a ring, a diamond engagement ring. The stone was massive. It was a pear-cut diamond surrounded by a halo of smaller sapphires. It was beautiful. It was ostentatious. It was everything Nia was not. Nia pulled the ring out. She saw the inscription inside the band, "To Camille, my fire, my future." Nia stared at the words. The pain was dull now. It was an old ache. He had bought a ring. He was really going to do it. He was going to divorce Nia and propose to her sister with a ring that cost more than Nia's college education. He was a fool, Ebony said softly. A damn fool. Nia put the ring back in the box. She slammed it shut. She reached for the folder. She opened it. The first page was a list. It was a list of names and numbers. Sterling, Raymond, Patrick. Beside each name was a dollar amount and a date. "This is the ledger," Ebony said. She was reading over Nia's shoulder. "Look at these transfers. $500,000 to a construction company in Panama. $300,000 to a consulting firm in Zurich. This is classic money laundering, Nia." Nia turned the page, and then she saw it. It was a contract. A partnership agreement for Mercury South, signed by Derrick Williams and signed by the silent partner, Sterling Vance. But there was a third signature on the witness line. It was small. It was loopy. It was a signature Nia had seen on birthday cards for 30 years. Camille Davis. Nia felt the room spin. She knew. Nia whispered. She did not just know about the money. She was a partner. She signed the incorporation papers. Ebony grabbed the paper. "This is it, Nia. This is the smoking gun. This proves Camille is complicit in federal crimes. If we give this to the FBI, she goes to prison for 20 years. Nia looked at the paper. She looked at her sister's signature. "And the USB?" Nia asked. Ebony picked up the silver drive. "This probably contains the digital proof," Ebony said. "The emails, the recordings, the leverage Derrick used to keep Sterling from killing him." Suddenly, a loud honk echoed from the street outside. It was a long, desperate blast. "Trey," Nia said. They grabbed the evidence. Nia shoved the ring, the folder, and the USB into her purse. They ran out of the vault. They ignored Mrs. Higgins, who was shouting after them. They burst through the glass doors and onto the street. The scene was chaos. A black sedan had boxed the Range Rover in against the curb. 2 men in suits were out of the car. They were trying to smash the driver's side window with batons. Trey was inside. He was shouting something, but the glass muffled his voice. He was revving the engine, trying to push the heavy SUV onto the sidewalk to escape. Nia did not think. She did not calculate. She reacted. She reached into her purse and pulled out the only thing heavy enough to do damage. She pulled out the metal bond box she had accidentally carried out with her. "Hey!" Nia screamed. The men turned. They saw a woman in a trench coat charging at them with a steel box raised over her head. They hesitated for a second. That was all Nia needed. She threw the box. It sailed through the air and smashed into the windshield of the black sedan. The glass shattered. "Get in!" Trey roared. The passenger door flew open. Nia and Ebony dove into the moving car. Trey stomped on the gas. The Range Rover jumped the curb. It scraped against a parking meter. Sparks showered the sidewalk. But they were free. They sped away down Grand Avenue, leaving the 2 men and the shattered sedan in their wake. Nia sat in the passenger seat. Her chest was heaving. She clutched her purse to her chest. "We got it," Nia said. She looked at Trey. She looked at Ebony. "We got everything." Trey looked at her. His eyes were wide. "Did you just throw a bank box at a hitman?" Trey asked. Nia straightened her coat. She smoothed her hair. "I believe I did," Nia said. For the first time since his father died, Trey smiled. It was a small, terrified smile, but it was real. "You are crazy," Trey said. Nia looked out the window at the blurring city. "I am not crazy," Nia said softly. "I am just done being the victim." The adrenaline from the chase began to fade as soon as the heavy steel doors of Ebony's downtown office clicked shut. It was replaced by a cold, creeping dread. The office was on the 30th floor of a building that required biometric clearance to enter. It was a fortress of glass and mahogany. It was safe. But Nia did not feel safe. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff that was crumbling into the sea. Ebony did not waste time. She led them into a conference room that she called the bunker. It had no windows. The walls were soundproofed. In the center of the room was a single table with a laptop that was not connected to the internet. "Give it to me," Ebony said. Nia reached into her purse. Her hand brushed against the velvet box holding the ring, but she pushed it aside. She pulled out the silver USB drive. It felt heavy. It felt warm. It contained the ghost of her husband and the secrets that had killed him. Ebony plugged the drive into the laptop. The screen flickered to life. A single folder appeared on the desktop. It was labeled simply, "The Truth." Ebony clicked the folder. 3 files appeared. One was a video file titled Final Testament, one was an audio file titled The Ultimatum, and one was a PDF document titled Mercury South Ledger. Ebony looked at Nia. "Are you ready?" she asked. Nia looked at Trey. He was sitting on the edge of the leather chair. His leg was bouncing nervously. He looked young and terrified and dangerous all at once. "Play the video," Nia said. Ebony clicked play. The screen filled with darkness for a second. Then the camera adjusted. Derrick appeared. Nia gasped. This was not the Derrick she knew. This was not the man who wore $3,000 suits and charmed investors. He was sitting in the leather chair at the penthouse. He was wearing a wrinkled white t-shirt. His eyes were bloodshot and sunken. He had a glass of brown liquor in his hand. He looked like a man who had not slept in weeks. He looked like a man who knew he was dying. He stared into the camera. He took a long swallow of the drink. "Nia," Derrick said. His voice was raspy. "If you are watching this, it means I am gone. It means my heart finally gave out, or Sterling finally decided I was too much of a liability. Either way, I am sorry." He paused. He rubbed his face with a shaking hand. I know what you found. Derrick continued. You found the apartment. You found the photos. You probably met Trey. And you probably hate me. You have every right to hate me, Nia. I was a coward. I built a life of lies because I was too weak to choose one truth. Nia felt a tear slide down her cheek. She wiped it away angrily. But there is one lie I need to correct, Derrick said. He leaned closer to the camera. His eyes were intense. You found out about Camille. You think I loved her. You think I was leaving you for her. Nia held her breath. I never loved her, Derrick whispered. Nia blinked. She felt the room tilt. I slept with her once, Derrick said. 3 years ago. I was drunk. We were at the cabin. She came on to me and I was weak. I regretted it the moment it happened. I tried to end it the next morning. I told her it was a mistake. I told her I loved my wife. Derrick laughed. It was a broken sound. But Camille, she did not see it as a mistake. She saw it as an opportunity. Nia stared at the screen. Camille had said they were in love. She had said it was a 3-year affair. She had been recording me for years, Nia, Derrick said. She had photos of me coming into this building. She hired a private investigator to follow me. She found out about Sienna. She found out about Trey. And then she came to me. Derrick took another drink. His hand was shaking so badly the ice rattled against the glass. She told me that if I did not pay her, she would tell you everything. She said she would destroy my reputation. She demanded $5,000 a month at first, then 10. Then she wanted access to the accounts. She wanted to feel important, Nia. She wanted to be you. Nia felt a wave of nausea. It was blackmail. It was not a romance, it was a hostage situation. But it got worse, Derrick said. His voice dropped. It became a whisper. Last year, Sienna told me she wanted out. She was going to take Trey and move to Georgia. She wanted to break the cycle. I was going to let her go. I was going to set up a trust for them and let them be free. Trey made a small sound in the back of his throat, a sound of pain. Camille found out, Derrick said. She was furious. She said if Sienna left, she might talk. She said Sienna was a loose end. I told Camille to leave it alone. I told her I handled it. Derrick looked down at his hands. 2 days later, Sienna's brakes failed. The silence in the conference room was absolute. It was heavy and suffocating. Trey stood up. His chair fell backward with a loud crash. He stared at the screen. His eyes were wide with horror. No, Trey whispered. No. Derrick looked back at the camera. Tears were streaming down his face now. The mechanic said the brake lines were cut. Derrick said, it was clean, it was professional, and the night before the accident, I saw a withdrawal from the operating account. $10,000 in cash. Camille made the withdrawal. Trey let out a roar. It was a sound of pure animal agony. He turned and punched the wall. His fist made a sickening thud against the soundproofing. She killed her. Trey screamed. She killed my mother. Nia could not move. She sat frozen in her chair. Her sister, her own flesh and blood. Camille was not just a thief. She was a murderer. She had hired a hitman to kill a woman she had never met just to protect her stream of blackmail money. Derrick wiped his face. I wanted to go to the police, he said. I swear to God, Nia, I wanted to turn her in. But she told me that if I went to the cops, she would give them the ledger. She would expose Mercury South. She would tell them about Sterling. She knew everything. If I turned her in for murder, I would go to prison for money laundering, and Sterling would kill you to silence me. Derrick looked defeated. He looked small. So I stayed silent. I paid her blood money. I let her play the mistress. I let her pretend we were in love. Because she held a gun to my head, and the gun was pointed at you, Nia. Me, Nia whispered. She is dangerous, Nia, Derrick said. More dangerous than Sterling. Because Sterling just wants money. Camille wants your life. She wants to be Mrs. Williams. And now that she is pregnant... Derrick stopped. He looked terrified. She poked holes in the condoms, Nia. She trapped me. And 2 weeks ago, she told me the plan. She said that once the baby was born, she wouldn't need me anymore. She said widows get more sympathy than divorcees. Nia felt the blood drain from her face. Camille had implied that Derrick was going to leave Nia, But Derrick was saying the opposite. Camille was planning to kill Derrick, play the audio file. Derrick said on the video, "Listen to her, and then run. Run, Nia. Take the money and run." The screen went black. Ebony did not speak. Her hands were shaking as she moved the mouse. She clicked on the file named The Ultimatum. The sound of static filled the room. Then a voice cut through. It was clear. It was sharp. It was Camille. "You are being dramatic, Derrick," Camille's voice said. She sounded bored. "It is a simple medical issue. Heart attacks happen to men your age all the time, especially men with high stress. I am not going to die for you, Camille." Derrick's voice. He sounded panicked. "Then you need to fix the Nia problem," Camille said. Her voice was cold steel. "She is in the way. She is spending my money. She is living in my house. I am tired of waiting in the wings. I am carrying your son Derrick. I deserve the throne. I cannot hurt her." Derrick pleaded, "I gave you everything else. Leave her alone." "If you do not handle it, I will," Camille said. "Accidents happen, Derrick. Just ask Sienna. Cars crash, houses catch fire, people disappear. You have 1 week to file for divorce or bury her. Make a choice, or I will make it for you." The recording ended. Nia sat in the silence. The world had shifted on its axis. Camille had not just seduced her husband. She had enslaved him. She had murdered the mother of his child, and she had been planning to kill Nia to take her place. The slap Nia had delivered earlier felt like a caress now. It was not enough. Trey walked to the table. His eyes were dry now. The grief had burned away and left something harder in its place. He looked like a soldier. "She killed my mother," Trey said. His voice was devoid of emotion. "She paid someone $10,000 to cut the brakes, and she let my mother die screaming in twisted metal." He looked at Nia. "What are we going to do?" Trey asked. Ebony closed the laptop. She stood up. She smoothed her suit jacket, but her hands were clenched into fists. "We go to the police," Ebony said. "This is capital murder. This is conspiracy. We have the confession. We have the motive. We have the financial trail. She will never see the light of day again." "No," Nia said. Ebony and Trey turned to look at her. Nia was staring at the blank screen where Derrick's face had been. "If we go to the police, Sterling gets involved," Nia said. Derrick said it himself. "If the ledger comes out, Sterling goes down. And if Sterling feels threatened, he will kill us all before the police can even file the paperwork. We cannot use the law, Ebony. The law is too slow." "Then what?" Trey asked. He touched the gun in his waistband. "I am not letting her live." Nia stood up. She walked to the window. She looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there in a luxury high-rise, Camille was sitting on a white sofa, drinking wine and dreaming of becoming a widow. She thought she had won. She thought she was the predator. "We are not going to kill her," Nia said. "That is too easy. And we are not going to prison." Nia turned around. Her face was set in stone. "We are going to give her exactly what she wants," Nia said. Ebony frowned. "What does that mean?" "She wants to be the owner of Mercury South," Nia said. "She wants the legacy. She wants the empire." Nia walked back to the table. She picked up the thick manila folder containing the ledger and the partnership agreement. "We are going to transfer it all to her," Nia said. "Every shell company, every illegal account, every debt owed to Sterling. We are going to put it all in her name, and then we are going to tell Sterling that the new boss is open for business." Trey's eyes widened. A slow, dark smile spread across his face. "You are going to frame her," Trey said. "I am not framing her," Nia corrected. "She signed the papers. She wanted the life. I am just going to make sure she gets the full experience." Nia looked at the digital clock on the wall. It was 9 at night. "Ebony," Nia said. "Can you draft a transfer of ownership document tonight? Backdate it if you have to. Make it look like Derrick left her everything." Ebony smiled. The shark was back. "I can have it ready in an hour," Ebony said. "It will be the most beautiful lethal contract ever written." "Good," Nia said. She looked at Trey. "You wanted justice for your mother," Nia said. Trey nodded. "You are going to get it," Nia promised. "But first, we have one more stop to make. We need to go see Sterling." "Sterling?" Trey asked. You want to walk into the lion's den?" "No," Nia said. She picked up the USB drive. "I want to invite the lion to dinner, and I am going to serve him the main course." The cigar lounge was located in the basement of a nondescript building on Wilshire Boulevard. It was a place that did not exist on Google Maps. It was a place where deals were made in the shadows and where men like Sterling Vance held court. The air inside was thick and smelled of heavy cherry wood smoke and aged scotch. It was a masculine sanctuary designed to intimidate anyone who did not belong. Nia walked in. She was not wearing her widow's black. She was wearing a white suit that glowed in the dim amber light. It was a statement. She was not mourning, she was doing business. Trey walked a step behind her. He wore a fitted suit that Nia had bought him hours ago. The hoodie was gone. The gun was still tucked into his waistband, but it was hidden beneath Italian wool. He looked like a bodyguard. He looked like a son protecting his mother. Sterling sat in a corner booth. He was a large man with skin the color of obsidian and a shaved head that shone under the recessed lighting. He was flanked by two men. One of them was the man who had tried to smash Nia's car window. He had a bandage on his forehead where the bond box had connected. Nia stopped at the table. She did not wait to be invited. She sat down opposite Sterling. Trey stood behind her chair with his arms crossed. Sterling took a slow drag from his cigar. He exhaled a plume of gray smoke that drifted toward Nia's face. She did not blink. She did not wave it away. "Mrs. Williams," Sterling said. His voice was the same deep gravel she had heard on the phone. "You are a hard woman to kill. My men tell me you have quite an arm. I am not here to talk about sports, Sterling," Nia said. Her voice was steady. It was the voice she used when she was closing multi-million-dollar mergers. "I am here to return your property." She reached into her purse and pulled out the silver USB drive. She placed it on the mahogany table. It sat there between a crystal ashtray and a glass of whiskey. Sterling looked at the drive. He did not touch it. "That is only half of what you owe me," Sterling said. "Derrick took $5 million of my liquid capital. He hid it in shell companies. He hid it in real estate. I want my money, Nia, or I want blood." Nia leaned forward. "Derrick is dead," Nia said. "You cannot get blood from a ghost. And as for me, I am just a widow who wants to move on with her life. I do not have your $5 million, Sterling, but I know who does." Sterling raised an eyebrow. He leaned forward. The leather of the booth creaked under his weight. "Who?" he asked. Nia reached into her purse again. She pulled out the partnership agreement for Mercury South, the one signed by Derrick and Camille. She slid it across the table. "Look at the signature line," Nia said. Sterling picked up the paper. He squinted in the dim light. He read the names: Derrick Williams, Sterling Vance, and Camille Davis. "She is your partner," Nia said. "She signed the incorporation papers. She has the admin codes for the offshore accounts. She was the one who initiated the transfer yesterday. She is the one trying to move your money into her personal trust." Sterling looked at the paper. His eyes narrowed. "The sister," he said. "The one who cries on the news. She is not crying, Sterling," Nia said. "She is counting. She is pregnant with Derrick's child. She claims she is the sole heir to his empire, and that includes his debts." Nia paused. She let the words sink in. "I am walking away, Sterling," Nia said. "I am renouncing my claim to the estate. I am giving it all to her. The house, the cars, and Mercury South. She wants to be the boss. I am letting her be the boss." Sterling looked at Nia. He studied her face for a long moment. He was looking for fear. He was looking for a lie. But all he saw was the cold, hard resolve of a woman who was finished playing games. "So you are giving me a new debtor," Sterling said. "I am giving you the person who actually stole from you," Nia said. Derrick was the face, but Camille was the motivation. She was the one pushing him. She was the one spending the money, and now she is the one holding the keys. Sterling tapped his cigar against the crystal glass. Ash fell like gray snow. "And what do you want in return?" Sterling asked. "I want out," Nia said. "I want you to forget my name. I want you to forget Trey existed. I want you to take your men off my house and let me leave Los Angeles in peace. You deal with Camille. She is the one with the deep pockets now." Sterling smiled. It was a terrifying expression that showed gold-capped teeth. "Business is business," Sterling said. He picked up the USB drive and slipped it into his pocket. If she signs the transfer of ownership, then she assumes the liability. That is the law of the street and the law of the boardroom. She will sign. Nia promised. She is greedy, Sterling. She will sign anything if she thinks it makes her rich. Sterling nodded. He raised his glass. Then we have a deal, Mrs. Williams, Sterling said. Enjoy your retirement. Nia stood up. She did not shake his hand. She turned and walked out of the smoke-filled room. She walked out of the underworld and back into the night. Trey walked beside her. When they reached the car, he let out a long breath. I thought he was going to shoot us, Trey whispered. He is a businessman, Nia said. She started the car. And I just gave him a new acquisition target. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly over Baldwin Hills. It was a beautiful day for a funeral of a marriage. Nia sat in the formal living room of the big house. Ebony was sitting next to her. On the coffee table was a stack of legal documents that was 3 inches thick. They were bound in blue folders. They looked official. They looked important. And they were a trap. Ebony had spent the entire night drafting them. They were a masterpiece of legal misdirection. On the surface, they were a total transfer of assets. They transferred the deed to the mansion. They transferred the luxury cars. They transferred the ownership of Mercury South Holdings and all its subsidiaries. But buried in the fine print on page 42 was a clause about debt assumption. By signing the documents, Camille would be accepting full personal liability for all existing financial obligations of the entities. She would be accepting the $5 million debt to Sterling. She would be accepting the tax liens. She would be accepting the federal investigation that Ebony had anonymously triggered that morning. The doorbell rang. Nia smoothed her white dress. She looked at Ebony. Ready? Nia asked. Ebony nodded. Her face was grim. Let us catch a rat, Ebony said. Nia opened the door. Camille stood there. She looked radiant. She was wearing a cream-colored maternity dress that highlighted her small bump. She had a team of movers waiting in a truck behind her. You are early, Nia said. I am eager, Camille said. She breezed past Nia into the house. She looked around the foyer with a proprietary air. She ran her hand along the banister. I always hated this wallpaper, Camille said. I am going to tear it down. I am going to paint everything gold. Nia followed her into the living room. Camille saw the documents on the table. Her eyes lit up. She looked like a child seeing presents on Christmas morning. Is this it? Camille asked. Is this the surrender? Nia sat down. She looked defeated. She slumped her shoulders. She made herself look small. You won, Camille, Nia said softly. I cannot fight you. I cannot fight the baby. I spoke to my lawyers. If we go to court, it will take years. I do not have the energy. I just want to go. Camille smirked. She sat down and crossed her legs. I told you, Nia, Camille said. I told you I would win. Destiny does not make mistakes. Ebony pushed the documents toward Camille. She handed her a heavy gold pen. These are the transfer deeds, Ebony said. Her voice was professional and cold. By signing these, you become the sole executor of the Derrick Williams estate. You become the owner of Mercury South Holdings. You get the house. You get the accounts. You get everything. Camille did not read the papers. She flipped through them quickly. She glanced at the asset list. She saw the words $5 million listed under projected value. She saw the address of the mansion. That was all she needed to see. Where do I sign? Camille asked. Nia watched her sister. She felt a moment of pity. It was a small, fleeting thing. Camille was so blinded by greed that she could not see the cliff she was standing on. Right here. Ebony pointed to the line at the bottom of the page. And here, and initial here. Camille signed. She signed with a flourish. Her signature was large and loopy. She signed her life away 1 page at a time. She signed the deed to the house which was currently being watched by Sterling's men. She signed the ownership of the company which was currently being flagged by the FBI. She signed the assumption of debt that would bankrupt her before the baby was even born. Done, Camille said. She slammed the pen down. She stood up. She grabbed the papers and held them to her chest. Get out of my house, Nia, Camille said. Nia stood up. She picked up her purse. She looked at the room one last time. It was just a house. It was just wood and plaster and expensive furniture. It was not a home. "I am leaving," Nia said. She walked to the door. Ebony followed her. At the threshold, Nia stopped. She turned back to Camille. "Take care of the baby, Camille," Nia said. Her voice was soft. "Because that baby is the only innocent thing in this house." Camille laughed. "I will take care of everything better than you ever did. Now go. You are depressing the vibe." Nia walked out the door. She walked down the stone path to where Trey was waiting in the truck. The sun was warm on her face. She felt lighter than she had felt in 16 years. She got in the truck. "Did she sign?" Trey asked. Nia looked back at the house. She saw Camille in the window. She was holding up the papers in victory. She had no idea that she was holding a grenade with the pin pulled out. "She signed," Nia said. Trey started the engine. "So what happens now?" Trey asked. "Now we wait," Nia said. She looked at her phone. She had a notification. It was from the security system she still had access to on her phone. It showed a black sedan pulling up to the gate of the mansion. Sterling was here. He was coming to collect his debt from the new owner. "Drive, Trey," Nia said. "Drive fast." As they pulled away, Nia did not look back. She did not see the black sedan entering the gate. She did not see the FBI vans turning the corner 2 blocks away. She only saw the road ahead. The queen had fallen, but the silent woman had risen. And she was free. Nia paused at the threshold of the heavy oak door. The sun was warm on her back, but the air inside the house felt stagnant. It felt like a tomb that had just been sealed. Behind her, Camille was clutching the blue folders to her chest like a shield. She looked like a queen who had just conquered a kingdom she did not understand. Nia turned around slowly. She looked at her sister one last time. She did not see a monster. She saw a tragedy. She saw a woman so consumed by the need to be seen that she had blinded herself to the edge of the cliff. "There is one more thing," Nia said softly. Her voice carried across the empty foyer. It was calm. It was the voice of a judge delivering a final verdict. Camille looked up. Her eyes were bright with victory. "What is it, Nia?" Camille asked. "Do you want a keepsake? Do you want a photo album? Or maybe you want to beg for a loan?" Nia shook her head. She adjusted the strap of her purse. "I know about Sienna," Nia said. The silence that followed was absolute. It was heavy and suffocating. The smile on Camille's face faltered. It did not disappear, but it froze. It became a mask of porcelain that was beginning to crack. "I do not know what you are talking about," Camille whispered. But her hands tightened on the folders until her knuckles turned white. "I know about the mechanic," Nia continued. She kept her eyes locked on Camille. "I know about the $10,000 you withdrew in cash. I know you paid to have her brakes cut. And I know you let a woman die in twisted metal just so you could keep playing house with my husband." Camille took a step back. She hit the wall. The color drained from her face, leaving her looking gray and sickly. "You cannot prove that," Camille stammered. Her voice was high and thin. It was the voice of a guilty child. "I do not have to prove it," Nia said, "because I am not the one you need to worry about." Nia took a step onto the porch. She looked at the manicured lawn. She looked at the rose bushes she had planted 5 years ago. They looked beautiful and thorny. "You just signed the partnership agreement for Mercury South," Nia said. "You are the owner now, Camille. You own the assets, but you also own the debts." "What debts?" Camille asked. Her breath was coming in short gasps. "Derrick stole $5 million from Sterling Vance," Nia said. "Sterling is a man who does not believe in forgiveness. He believes in collection, and I just told him that the new management is open for business." Camille dropped the folders. Papers scattered across the marble floor like dead leaves. "No," Camille whispered. "You are lying." Nia smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was a smile of finality. "Check your phone," Nia said. Nia turned and walked down the steps. She walked with a steady rhythm. Click, click, click. Her heels on the stone path sounded like a clock counting down. She reached the truck where Trey was waiting. She opened the door and climbed in. Behind her, the world exploded into chaos. It started with a scream. It was Camille screaming Nia's name, but the sound was swallowed by the wail of sirens. 3 black SUVs screeched to a halt in front of the mansion gates, but they were not Sterling's men. They were government vehicles. Men and women in blue windbreakers jumped out. On the back of their jackets were 3 yellow letters, FBI. Ebony had timed it perfectly. The anonymous tip about international money laundering and the location of the encrypted ledger had been filed exactly 1 hour ago. Nia watched through the side mirror. She saw the agents swarm the property. She saw them kicking open the front door. She saw Camille being dragged out in handcuffs. She was kicking and screaming. She looked terrified. But then Nia saw something else. In the chaos, Camille's phone fell from her pocket. It landed on the driveway face up. The screen lit up. Even from this distance, Nia could imagine the name flashing on the caller ID. It was an unknown number. It was Sterling. Sterling was calling to collect, and now he would see his new partner being hauled away by the federal government. He would realize his money was gone forever. And in the world of men like Sterling, failure was not an option. Camille was going to prison. But she would spend every day looking over her shoulder, waiting for Sterling's reach to find her. She was trapped in a hell of her own making. "Drive," Nia said. Trey pulled the truck away from the curb. He drove past the police cars. He drove past the neighbors who were coming out to watch the spectacle. He drove past the life Nia had spent 16 years building. Nia did not look back. She faced the road ahead. 2 hours later, they stood in the back room of a jewelry broker in the Diamond District. The broker was a small man with a magnifying glass attached to his eye. He was examining the sapphire necklace. "The stone is flawless," the broker said. "Burmese sapphire, unheated, surrounded by 3 carats of VVS diamonds. It is a magnificent piece." "How much?" Nia asked. "I can give you $250,000, the broker said. "Cash. Today. Deal," Nia said. She did not hesitate. That necklace was a symbol of her blindness. It was a symbol of the secrets Derrick had kept around her neck like a leash. Selling it felt like cutting the chain. The broker counted out the money, stacks of $100 bills. He placed them in a black duffel bag. Nia zipped the bag shut. She walked out of the store with Trey. They sat on a bench in Pershing Square. The city was loud around them, but between them there was peace. Nia opened the bag. She counted out half the stacks. $125,000. She handed the money to Trey. "This is for you," Nia said. Trey looked at the money. He looked at Nia, his eyes filled with tears. "I cannot take this," Trey said. "It is too much." "It is exactly enough," Nia said. "It is enough to finish your degree. It is enough to get a good apartment. It is enough to start a life that has nothing to do with Derrick Williams or his sins." Trey took the money. He put it in his backpack. He looked at Nia. "What about you?" he asked. "Where will you go?" Nia looked at the skyline. She looked at the palm trees swaying in the smoggy breeze. She thought about Florida. She thought about a small house near the ocean where the air smelled of salt and not betrayal. "I am going to find out who Nia is," she said. "I spent so long being Mrs. Williams that I forgot she existed, but I think I am going to like her." She stood up. She hugged Trey. It was a fierce hug, a hug between survivors. "Be safe, Trey," Nia said. "You too, Nia," he said. Nia walked to her rental car. It was a simple white sedan. It was not flashy. It was anonymous. She got in and started the engine. She merged onto the highway heading east. She turned on the radio. A song was playing. It was an old soul song about freedom. Nia rolled down the windows. She let the wind whip through her hair. She took a deep breath. She had no husband. She had no home. She had no empire. But she had her dignity. She had her life. And for the first time in 16 years, she was driving her own car. She was not a victim. She was a queen who had burned down the castle to save herself. And as the city of Los Angeles faded in her rearview mirror, Nia smiled. It was a real smile. And it was beautiful. The moral. True strength isn't about how loud you can scream or how hard you can fight. It is about the quiet dignity of knowing your worth when the world tries to strip it away. Betrayal may break your heart, but it should never break your spirit. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply removing your light from those who only know how to live in the dark and using that energy to build a life that is finally truly yours. Walk away not in defeat, but in the glorious victory of self-love.